Most LSAT students are doing the same three things. They're watching videos, drilling questions, and taking practice tests, and wondering why they're stuck in the 150s and 160s. Meanwhile, the top scorers, they're using strategies you've never even heard of. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 little-known ways to increase your LSAT score into the 170s. Number 1, redo practice tests but treat them like fresh intel. Most people finish a prep test, they look at the score, they groan, and they never open up that practice test again. That's like digging for gold, seeing a few shiny flakes, and walking away. One test can teach you more than a month of random drilling if you mine it right. Let me show you exactly how. First step is the 14-day cooling off period. The moment you finish a test, lock it away for 2 full weeks. During that break, slip in 3 different practice tests so the answers fade from your memory. If you don't space it out, you're practicing recall, not reasoning. After the cool down period, pull that test back out for what I call the untimed autopsy. You print a clean answer sheet, work the whole thing without the clock, and focus on flawless logic. Every time you change an answer, mark it. Was it right to wrong to right, or wrong to wrong? Then write down one brutally honest sentence explaining why you made that change. For example, did you rush a correlation-causation flaw? Did you misread the quantifier? One sentence, that's it. Next, you build an error dashboard. You open up a Google Sheets, section, question, flaw type, time spent, and that one sentence why. Color code the changes so your blind spots will scream out at you. Data beats vibes every single time. Then 48 hours later, do a timed second pass scrimmage on just the questions you missed or flagged. Use the real timing, approximately 1 minute and 25 seconds per logical reasoning question, and any wrong to wrong that survives this round goes into a Hall of Shame doc you review every week until it clicks. Now you ask 4 pattern questions. 1, where are my error clusters? 2, which flaw types wreck my pacing? 3, am I talking myself out of right answers, those wrong to rights? And 4, does my focus crash at the same spot every section? That's stamina, not skill. To fix the blind spots, turn each repeat offender into a flashcard. Stimulus and question stem on the front, correct answer and why everything else is trash on the back. Drill them with spaced repetition until they're automatic. Now, a quick note on resources. There are several exams not available as full timed practice tests in LawHub. They are available as drill sets or additional practice. You can use those questions for untimed autopsies so you don't burn your limited full-length practice test supply. And then finally, every month, plot out 4 numbers: your first run score, your untimed score, your timed second pass score, and your average time per missed question. If the gap between untimed and timed is more than 5 questions, pacing is your bottleneck. If your wrong to wrong numbers aren't shrinking, you want to revisit those flaw fundamentals. So to recap, quarantine the test for 14 days, perform the autopsy, log the data, scrimmage under time, extract patterns, flashcard the stubborn stuff, track the KPIs. If you do that, one practice test becomes a personalized mini course that keeps paying dividends long after the score report. You want to treat every practice test like fresh intel so the LSAT stops feeling random. It becomes predictable, and that's how you win. Now, number 2, review mistakes with the Socratic review method. Most students review their mistakes the way they scroll social media. Quick, passive, and totally forgettable. They check the answer key, they skim the explanation, they think, oh yeah, I get it now, and then they miss the same kind of question 2 days later. That kind of review obviously doesn't work. If you want to break your score plateau, you've got to interrogate your mistakes like you're a trial lawyer. And that's what the Socratic review method is all about. It's not about getting through the review, it's about slowing down, zooming in, and figuring out the exact moment your thinking went off track. Here's how to do it. Step 1, rewrite the stimulus in your own words. No shortcuts, no summaries. Rebuild the argument from scratch. What's the conclusion? What's the evidence? what assumptions are being made. If you can't restate the argument clearly, you didn't really understand it. Step 2, ID the question type. Label it precisely. Is it a flaw, necessary assumption, weaken, strengthen, inference? Each of these is asking something different. If you mislabel the question, your whole approach will be off. Step 3, break down your mistake. Why did you choose the wrong answer? What trap did you fall for? Was it the extreme language, the attractive but irrelevant detail? Did you misread the stimulus or misjudge the answer's scope? You want to be honest here, brutally honest, because you can't fix what you won't admit. Then, step 4, explain why the right answer is right. Not just because the explanation said so, you've got to prove it to yourself. What specific words in the stimulus support that answer? And why are the other 4 answer choices wrong? You want to put this in your own words using your own language, not LSAC's. And if you can't teach it to someone else, you don't own it yet. Then, step 5, extract the general principle from the stimulus. That is where the magic happens. Every LSAT mistake is part of a pattern. If you can spot the pattern, name the flaw, and write your own rule, that will prove mastery over the material. Like, if the conclusion generalizes from one case and the evidence is anecdotal, that isn't a flaw of representativeness. Or, if I picked an answer that fixes the argument, but the question asked for a flaw, I'm not answering the actual question. Do this for every question you got wrong or weren't sure about. And yes, that includes the ones you guessed on and got correct. A lucky guess doesn't count, of course. You want your review to be a living document, a mistake journal. Each entry should include the full breakdown, the stimulus, your mistake, the correct answer's reasoning, and your new takeaway. Review it every single week. That journal is your LSAT fingerprint. It will show you exactly how you think when you're wrong and how to fix it. And one more thing, say your review out loud. Talk through your logic like you're explaining it to a friend. If you can't say it clearly, you don't understand it clearly. That act of verbalizing forces precision, and precision is what the LSAT rewards. This is how you train your reasoning, and this is how you reduce careless errors. And finally, that's how you turn every missed question into momentum for the future. You don't need to do 1,000 more questions. You've just got to learn from the ones you've already done and gotten wrong. If you do this, your score will climb faster than you think. Number 3, focus on the argument, not the question type. Most students organize their LSAT prep by question type. They'll label everything, strengthen, flaw, assumption, inference, and they drill each one like it lives in its own little bubble. But on test day, the LSAT doesn't care how neatly you've color-coded your categories. What matters is whether you understand the argument. That is the core of the question, and that is where the real logic lives. The argument, aka the stimulus, tells you what's happening. The question stem just tells you what to do with it. If you don't understand the stimulus, it doesn't matter how well you know the question type. So here's how to flip your focus. Step 1, read the stimulus like it's an argument, not a riddle. Start asking real questions as you read. What's the conclusion? What's the evidence? And what's the gap in the reasoning? Don't race to the answer choices. Stop and think first. This short pause of just 5 to 10 seconds can double your accuracy overnight. Step 2, identify the logical move, not the question type. Ask yourself, what kind of reasoning is being used here? Are they confusing correlation and causation? Are they assuming two things are similar just because they share one common trait? Or are they jumping from a specific example to a general rule? These patterns show up again and again. They are the greatest hits of the LSAT. And when you start spotting them, you're no longer reacting to the question, you are anticipating it. Step 3, build a logic-first playbook. Create a running list of flaw types and reasoning. For each one, include a short description, a few examples, a sample stimulus that you've seen on the LSAT, and a line or two on how to approach it. This is not about memorizing definitions, it's about building pattern recognition. Because once you've seen 20 examples of a mistaken cause-effect relationship, the 21st becomes pretty obvious. Then step 4, practice rewriting the same stimulus as different question types. This is where things really click. Take a single stimulus from a flaw question. Now imagine LSAC rewrote it as a strengthing question or a necessary assumption. What would they ask and how would the correct answer change? When you can do this, you realize the stimulus, the argument, is the real test and the question stem is just a lens. Step 5. Reverse engineer the trap answers. When you are reviewing questions, look at the wrong answers and ask yourself, why is this here? What kind of student would pick this? And what misunderstanding does this option exploit? Is it preying on someone who misread the conclusion? Is it tempting someone who thinks correlation equals causation? This helps you see things from the test maker's perspective. You'll start to see how they are setting the trap and you stop falling for it. So top scorers don't just know what type of question they're looking at, they know what kind of argument they're dealing with. And that's what gives them an edge. Because once you understand the stimulus, once you see the logic clearly, the rest of the question will unfold naturally. It doesn't matter if it's a strengthen, flaw, or assumption. You've already done the hard part. Stop thinking in categories and start thinking in arguments, and the LSAT will finally start making sense. Now, number 4, smart pacing in logical reasoning. Most students treat logical reasoning like a checklist. 1 minute and 25 seconds per question, right? Wrong. That kind of even pacing is a trap because not all questions are created equal. Some are easy and straightforward, some are dense, abstract, and full of traps. And if you spend the same amount of time on each one, you're wasting energy early and you'll be scrambling later. Top scorers don't pace evenly, they pace strategically. They bank time on the easy stuff and they invest time in the tough stuff. And they skip questions that aren't worth the stress at the moment. Here's how to do it. You've got to start with the structure of the section. In logical reasoning, you've got 35 minutes for 25 or 26 questions. That is your total budget, but you want to divide it up strategically. Questions 1 through 10 are usually the easiest and most direct. You want to knock them out in 10-12 minutes max. Questions 11 through 20 require a bit more nuance and more complexity, and questions 21 through 26 are the hardest, the densest, and the trickiest. And so, to keep it simple, if you knock out the first 10 in 10 to 12 minutes, you build up a time bank that you'll be able to apply to the tougher questions later that truly need it. But if you waste time at the beginning, you're going to end up paying for it at the end. Now, you want to use a 2-pass strategy. On your first pass, you want to aim to answer roughly 80% of the questions confidently. If you hit a wall, here's what you do. Take a breath, flag the question, and move on. Seriously, move on. Don't burn 3 minutes being stuck in your own head. Come back to it with a fresh perspective. You can flag 3 to 5 questions on your first pass. That is totally normal, that is smart, and that is what top scorers do. Now, of course, everyone has their own personal weak spots. Maybe you freeze on abstract principle questions, maybe dense philosophy slows you down, maybe a certain flaw type gets under your skin. You want to ID those danger zones and train yourself to flag and skip them early. You can always return back to them later once your brain has reset. You also want to set internal checkpoints. Don't rely on guessing where you are in the section. You want to have real benchmarks in your head. Like at question 10, I want to have at least 23 minutes left. Or at question 20, I want to have at least 8 minutes left. These checkpoints give you a real-time pacing map. So if you're behind, you know to speed up. And if you're ahead, you know you can slow down and think deeper on the hard ones. Now, here's a drill to try once a week. Start a section from the last question and move backward. This forces your brain to deal with the toughest material first when you're the freshest, and it trains you to stop dreading the end of the section. Of course, I would never want you to do this on test day itself. I always want you to lock up the easiest points first, but there are benefits to doing things in reverse at least once in a while just to mix it up. Now, post-test, do a time audit. After every timed section, ask yourself, where did I lose time? Where did I guess? Which questions felt rushed? And which ones felt like time well spent? If you log your answers, you'll start noticing trends. And that's how you fix not just what you're missing, but why you're missing it. Now, the LSAT rewards strategy, not just speed. If you treat every question equally, you're not thinking like a test taker, You're thinking like a robot. Top scorers are surgical. They know where to go fast, where to slow down, and when to skip without fear. They finish more questions, they guess less, and they stay calm in the final stretch. And that's not about working harder, that's about pacing smarter. If you master this, logical reasoning goes from frantic to focused, from rushed to under control, and from random to predictable. Now, number 5, less note-taking in reading comp. Stop highlighting and start understanding. Most students treat LSAT reading comp like they're back in high school English class. They highlight everything that moves, they take detailed margin notes, they underline dates, names, terms, and transitions. And then they still miss the main idea. Why? Because they're doing too much. Too much highlighting, too much note-taking, too much focusing on what is said, and not enough on why it is said. If you're spending 3 minutes annotating the passage, you're already behind. You've got 8 minutes and 45 seconds total for both the passage and the questions. That is less than 3 minutes to read and 5 to 6 minutes to answer 6 to 7 tough questions. Top scorers know reading comp is not about being meticulous, it's about being strategic. So here's how to stop reading like a student and start reading like a test taker. Remember that you are not reading to memorize. You're reading to understand the structure, the flow, the purpose behind each paragraph. So before you even begin, tell yourself, I'm not looking for trivia, I'm looking for structure, tone, and the author's agenda. That one sentence, that one mindset changes everything. After each paragraph, pause and ask yourself, what role did this paragraph play? Did it introduce a theory? Did it give background? Did it present a counterpoint? Did it explain a consequence? Then mentally assign it a quick headline like old view, new problem, criticism of theory, or supporting example. No notes, no writing here, just label the paragraph in your mind and move on. This is fast and it locks in the structure better than underlining ever will. Now, every reading comp passage revolves around 4 core things: the main idea, the author's opinion, the structure of the passage, and specific references tied to key ideas. If you read looking for these 4, you'll already be a step ahead when you get to the questions, because that's exactly what LSAT is going to test. Now, the online LSAT tools are clunky. The highlighting is slow, the underlining is inaccurate, and scrolling to find what you marked is a big waste of time. So instead, I want you to train your brain to mentally mark transitions and strong language. Words like however, but, critics argue, in contrast, and therefore. These are your structural signposts, and they are more important than any name or date. Now, if you're reading a dual passage, it's okay to skim the questions first, because if they say, according to passage A, and they don't ask at all about passage B, you know to read passage A first, knock out that passage A specific question, and then, and only then, move on to passage B. But for the single longer passages, there is no reason to skim the questions first. This will not help you to anchor your reading. It will only distract you. I also don't want you to spend time hunting for the so-called easiest passage. That is a big waste of time. If you're aiming for a good score, anything above a 160, 165, you're going to have to do all 4 passages anyway, so just go through them in order with the same routine every time. And remember, the LSAT is on a computer now, not on paper. So if you're practicing on paper, you're building muscle memory for the wrong format. Do every LSAT reading comp passage on screen, ideally using LSAC's Law Hub. This will get you accustomed to scrolling, the screen glare, and those glitchy highlighting and underlining tools. And I want you to practice structure-only reviews. Once a week, read the passage, don't look at the questions, close your eyes and say out loud, what's the main idea? What's the tone? What did each paragraph do? And what were the shifts in the argument? This will build your structural intuition. You will start seeing the LSAT's patterns faster, and you'll be able to answer the questions with more confidence. Now, why does this work? It's because the LSAT doesn't care if you remembered every single detail. They care if you understand the logic of the passage, the structure, the argument, the shifts. Less note-taking forces your brain to engage more. It makes you think about what's important not just what's there. Top scorers don't waste time annotating. They track ideas, they stay focused, and they read with a purpose. If you do the same, reading comp will go from being random and overwhelming to being predictable and beatable. Number 6, simulate test day conditions. Most students study hard, they drill questions, take sections, review answers, but then they completely fall apart on test day. Why? Because they never practiced in the actual test day environment. They studied with music on. They paused the timer whenever they got tired. They did questions one by one or as drill sets, not as full sections. They used fancy third-party tools with smooth interfaces and beautiful fonts, but when they sat down for the real LSAT, they were staring at LawHub. The font looks weird, the highlighting tool is clunky, the timer's unfamiliar, and the pressure, of course, feels real. And that throws them off completely. But top scorers train differently. They simulate game day over and over until test day feels like just another practice run. Here's how to do it. Step 1, use LawHub every single time. LawHub is LSAC's platform, and it's the only one that mirrors the real online LSAT experience. Same interface, same fonts, same buttons, and the same terrible highlighting tool. If you're using anything else for your full practice tests, you're training with the wrong equipment. Starting now, I want you to take all your full-length practice tests on LawHub, not sometimes, every single time. Step 2, take 10 full timed exams in LawHub before test day. Not just individual sections, but full 4-section exams. Timed with no breaks, no pausing, no skipping questions and coming back hours later. You want the real thing to feel routine. You want your brain to say, oh, I've done this a dozen times before already. That familiarity builds confidence, and confidence leads to better decisions under pressure. Step 3, practice at the same time of day as your scheduled test. If your real LSAT's going to be at 9 a.m., don't study at midnight. Start waking up early and doing practice sections at 9 a.m. Train your brain to peak at that exact time. Your performance naturally fluctuates based on your body's circadian rhythm, so you want to lock it in early. Set your body's clock now and don't leave it to chance. Step 4, match your environment. No distractions, no music, no phone, no texting, no talking. Take your practice test in a silent room with the exact materials that you're going to have on test day. Scratch paper, a couple of pencils, a clear water bottle, maybe one snack during the break. Simulate the real experience so there will be zero surprises on test day. Step 5, get used to the annoying parts. LSAC's underlining tool is terrible. The scrolling feels awkward. The way passages and questions are split up is kind of clunky. But that's all good. It's good for you to get used to it now so that every single annoying little thing about the interface will feel normal by test day. So practice with it, struggle with it, and eventually you will master it. Step 6, create a real test day routine and rehearse it prior. Figure out what time you'll wake up, what you're going to eat, whether you're going to do some warm-up questions or not, what clothes you're going to wear, and how long before the test you'll start your setup or you'll leave for the test center if you're taking it in person. Then rehearse that routine on your full-length practice test days to build rhythm and confidence, which will in turn reduce your last-minute anxiety. Step 7, review your tests like a pro. After each full exam, don't just score it and move on. Ask yourself, where did I lose focus? When did my energy crash? Did I rush because of nerves or because of time? Did the interface slow me down? Was I distracted by something in the room? These post-exam debriefs will help you fine-tune your approach before the real thing. Because LSAT success is not just about knowing the material, it's about executing under pressure. If your first encounter with LawHub's layout, tools, and timing system is on test day, you're already behind. But if you've been there, if your brain and body have done this exact thing 10 times before, then the pressure fades. You'll walk in cool, focused, and prepared because the test will be just another rep. And that is what top scorers do. They simulate the test experience so well that the real thing becomes easy by comparison. Number 7, train your brain with mindfulness, because the LSAT isn't just a logic test, it's a focus test. What really happens on test day is you freeze on a hard question, your heart rate spikes, and you keep rereading the same line. Your mind will start drifting to the clock, and before you know it, you're panicking. Not because you didn't know the material, but because your focus collapsed under pressure. Top scorers already know this, and that's why they train their minds, not just their logic skills. The tool they use is mindfulness, and that doesn't involve incense or mantras, nothing woo-woo, just mental training to sharpen your attention, to help you reset after mistakes and keep you locked in for the full 2.5-hour exam. So here's how to build that kind of focus. Step 1, start with 5 minutes a day. You sit down, close your eyes, and set a timer for 5 minutes. You breathe through your nose and focus on the sensation of your breath going in and out. That is it. Your mind will drift, and that's normal. The goal is not to stay focused forever. The goal is to notice when you've drifted and bring your attention back. Every time you do that, you're building the muscle of focus. Step 2, make it a habit. Do it at the same time every day, right when you wake up, right before you study, or right before bed. Link it to something you already do and check it off like a workout. It's not about meditating for hours. It's about doing it consistently, 5 minutes every day. That's all it takes. Then step 3, apply it during practice tests. Before each timed section, close your eyes for just 60 seconds. Take 3 deep breaths and remind yourself, focus on this question. Don't worry about the last one. Don't worry about the clock either, just this one question. That micro reset can save your whole section. Step 4, use mindfulness to recover from mistakes. Let's say you bomb a passage. Most students would spiral. They'd panic, lose time, and blow the next 5 questions. But here's what top scorers do instead. They take 1 breath and they mentally say, that's done, I'm here now, and they move on. Mindfulness gives you the ability to reset without emotion. No judgment, just awareness, and just focus. Step 5, level up with LSAT-specific drills. Try this. Read a stimulus, close your eyes, and repeat the core argument to yourself. Open your eyes and see what you missed. This trains concentration and memory at the same time. Another drill. After a reading count passage, close your eyes and try to mentally walk through the structure. What did each paragraph do? What was the author's tone? And what was the shift in viewpoint? You would be shocked at how much more you retain with just a bit of mindful attention. Step 6, track the benefits. After 2 weeks of daily practice, ask yourself, am I less distracted during study sessions? Do I recover faster after I miss a question? And do I feel calmer when the timer's ticking down? If the answer is yes, it's working. But if the answer is no, keep going anyway. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time to build. Now, most students think their LSAT problem is logic, but often it's focus. They know the material, but under pressure, their mind shifts, they rush, they second guess, and they freeze. Mindfulness is the antidote. It trains your attention, your recovery, your ability to stay calm and present when it matters most. This is not fluff, it is performance training for your brain. Just 5 minutes a day can be a total game changer. That's how top scorers stay sharp from the first stimulus to the final passage, and that's how you can too. Number 8, prioritize sleep, diet, and exercise. That is the part of LSAT prep that almost no one takes seriously, but it affects everything. Your focus, your memory, your endurance, and your score. I'm talking here about how you take care of your body. If your brain is foggy, if you're tired, or you're wired, or you're crashing halfway through a section, it doesn't matter how many practice tests you've done, you're not showing up at full capacity. Top scorers don't just drill questions, they train like athletes because the LSAT is a performance, and your performance depends on 3 things: sleep, movement, and food. Let's start with sleep. Sleep is not optional. It is the most powerful LSAT enhancer you're not using. Here's what happens when you're sleep deprived. Your reaction time slows, your working memory tanks, you make more careless errors, and your stamina drops halfway through the exam. The fix is simple. Get 7 to 9 hours a night every single night. Wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. If your LSAT is scheduled for 8:30 a.m., start waking up at 6:30 a.m. now, so your body will peak at test time. Also, shut off your screens 30 minutes before bed. Easier said than done, of course, but that blue light delays your REM sleep, and that's the stage that consolidates memory and learning. You, of course, need that for the LSAT. Now, let's talk about movement. You don't need to train for a marathon, but you do need to move your body every single day, because movement increases blood flow to the brain, it reduces stress, it boosts focus and working memory, and it helps regulate mood and sleep. Aim for 20 to 30 minutes a day of any movement. That could be walking, biking, yoga, jump rope, dance, doesn't matter, just do something. And for bonus points, get it done in the morning before you study, so you'll show up sharper and more alert. And if you ever feel foggy mid-study, try doing 20 jumping jacks or 10 push-ups or a 1-minute plank. It's an instant mental reset. Now food, the fuel part. If you eat garbage, your brain runs like garbage. If you skip meals or spike your blood sugar, your focus crashes. So here's how to keep things stable. Eat protein and slow carbs for breakfast. Think eggs and toast, yogurt and berries, oats and almond butter. Avoid sugary breakfasts. No donuts and no breakfast bars that taste like dessert. Also, stay hydrated. Even 1 or 2% dehydration lowers your cognitive performance. Drink water before and during your practice. Then on test day, you want to eat what you've practiced with. No new foods, no experimenting because your body hates surprises under pressure. And keep caffeine under control. A little coffee is good for focus. Too much will lead to anxiety and crashing. Know your dose and practice with it now so you'll know how it affects you during those long sections. Then build a performance routine. Start treating every full-length practice test like it's test day. Wake up at test time. Eat your usual test day breakfast. Move your body. Sit down only with your allowed materials. Eliminate distractions and simulate the entire routine beginning to end. This creates rhythm, and rhythm creates readiness. Most students think test performance is about test prep, but it's also about energy management, and energy is physical. If your body crashes, your brain crashes. If your body is strong, rested, and fueled, your brain will keep firing at a high level across all 4 sections. This is not extra, this is foundational. Top scorers don't just prep harder, they prep smarter, and they treat their brain like an elite tool, and they take care of it accordingly. If you want your highest score, start by getting 8 hours, moving your body, and eating like someone who's about to win a scholarship because you are. Number 9, get obsessed with the LSAT itself. Most students study for the LSAT. They do practice questions, they take timed sections, they review their wrong answers. But the top scorers, they study the LSAT itself. They get inside the test makers' minds. They treat the exam like a language to decode, not just a checklist of drills. If you want to score 170 or above, it's not enough to practice. You've got to start seeing how the test is built. And that's what this strategy is all about. Step 1, you've got to shift your mindset from test taker to test maker. The LSAT is not random. It is carefully engineered. Every single question goes through a brutal editing and testing process before it ever reaches you. And the writers at LSAC, they're not trying to trick you, they're trying to reward clear, structured thinking. Which means, if you can think like them, you'll stop falling for traps, you'll start predicting the right answer, and the entire exam will feel more predictable. Step 2, you want to reverse engineer real LSAT questions. Pick a question you struggled with, even one you got right, and break it down like this. What kind of argument is the stimulus making? What assumption is it relying on? What kind of person is likely to fall for the wrong answer? Why did LSAC choose this specific wrong answer? And what is the exact wording that makes the right answer work? If you can answer those 5 things, you don't just understand the question, you understand why it exists. And that is a huge leap forward. Step 3, keep a question writer's notebook. Create a document called How LSAC Thinks. And for every question you study deeply, include the core flaw or reasoning pattern, the exact bait in the wrong answer, the subtle wording that made the right answer right, and the lesson you can take to future questions. That becomes your personal guide to the test, a playbook of the patterns the LSAT loves to use again and again. And yes, they do recycle patterns. Same logic, new language. Step 4, study the voice of the LSAT. Start paying attention to how LSAC phrases things. The wording of correct answers is always specific but not extreme, subtle but complete, boring but airtight. Wrong answers, on the other hand, are often too strong, vague, irrelevant, or seductive but logically broken. Train your brain to recognize that tone. Once you've read 100 or more official LSAT explanations, you'll start spotting that voice instantly. Step 5, reframe questions across types. Take a weakened question and ask, how would this look as a strengthened question? What assumption is sitting underneath? Could this be turned into a flaw question? What is the real reasoning skill being tested here? When you can reframe a single stimulus across multiple question types, you've internalized the structure, you're no longer memorizing tactics, and you're thinking like the test maker. Finally, step 6, respect the LSAT. This test is not arbitrary. It's not a hoop to jump through. It's a filter. It's asking, do you think clearly under pressure? Can you spot flawed reasoning? Can you understand complex arguments quickly? It's testing the exact skills you'll need in law school and in legal practice. So study like it matters, because it does. Most students chase tips and tricks, they memorize categories and drills, but they never pause to ask, why did LSAC build the test this way? When you step into the mindset of the test maker, you start seeing the patterns. You start understanding the logic behind the logic. And that's when the test goes from intimidating to familiar. So please do go ahead and get obsessed with the LSAT, and it will start revealing its secrets to you. That's what top scorers do. Not more practice, but better practice, with deeper insight. And that insight becomes your edge. Number 10, schedule your preferred test time immediately. It's time to talk logistics, because even if you study perfectly, even if you drill, review, and master every flaw type, you can still wreck your LSAT score by making one simple mistake: waiting too long to schedule your test time. Most students think registering for the LSAT is the same as picking your test time, but it's not. First, you register with LSAC. Then, a few weeks prior to your scheduled exam, LSAC sends you an email telling you it's time to pick your actual test appointment. That email sends you to Prometric, the company that handles scheduling and actually administering the LSAT, and that's where it turns into chaos. Prometric scheduling is first come, first served, like Ticketmaster. That means you don't get to casually choose whatever time you want. You're fighting online at the same time as thousands of other test takers, and if you wait, all the best time slots vanish. It's like trying to get tickets to a Taylor Swift concert. The second the window opens, the early birds grab whatever they want, and everyone else gets stuck with what's left, if anything's left at all. So if you want to take your LSAT at a time that matches your brain's peak performance, or you want to take it in person, you've got to act fast. First, know your peak hours and claim them. Some people are sharpest at 8 a.m. Others are useless before noon. Some people crash hard after 1 p.m. So ask yourself, when do you feel most alert? When do you focus best during your practice tests? And when do your scores consistently trend higher? That is your ideal test time. So schedule your exam for that exact window. And if you don't, and you end up with 6:45 a.m. and a foggy brain, good luck. So here's how to lock in your preferred test time. Step 1, the second LSAC emails you about scheduling, set an alarm, block off that time, have your Prometric login ready, know the time slot you want before you log in, and then, of course, when the time comes, log in early, wait on the page, and hit refresh as soon as the scheduling window opens. Then grab your time, don't hesitate, don't think about it. If it fits your brain's natural rhythm, lock it in. Now, the next natural question is, what happens if you miss that scheduling window? If your ideal time is gone, refresh the page every single day because people drop out or change or reschedule all the time. New slots do pop up. And you could, of course, contact Prometric support, politely, of course, to ask about additional availability. Sometimes they have access to additional slots and things do open up. Whatever slot you get, start training your body for that time slot. If your test is going to be at 9 a.m., start doing full practice tests at 9 a.m. Wake up at the same time each day. Eat the same breakfast. Follow the same pre-test routine. By the time test day arrives, you'll feel like your body is on autopilot because your brain will be used to peaking at that time. And that is exactly what you want. Zero surprises, maximum control. Because the LSAT doesn't just test your logic, it tests your energy, your focus, and your stamina. And those things are all time sensitive. They depend on your routine, your sleep schedule, and your internal clock. If you fight your biology on test day, your score will suffer. But if you work with it, you give yourself the best shot at peak performance. Grabbing your ideal test time isn't just convenient, it's strategic. So the moment that scheduling window opens, move fast because the test itself is hard enough and you don't want to add a 6:30 a.m. brain fog session to the list. Lock in your time, train for it, and walk into test day feeling ready. Now, finally, a bonus strategy here for you. Number 11, explore accommodations. This might be the most important strategy that no one talks about. It's not about logic, not about flaw types, not even about practice tests. It's about accommodations. If you've ever said to yourself, I just need a little more time and I'd be fine, or I freeze on tests even when I know the material, or I've always read a bit slower than everyone else, then you need to hear this. Because you might qualify for extra time or other adjustments and not even know it. And that can make the difference between a 157 and a 170 plus. Let's talk about what accommodations really are. They are official modifications to the LSAT test experience granted by LSAC to give students with documented conditions an equal opportunity to perform. They're not favors, they're not shortcuts, they are your legal right if you qualify. They include things like time and a half, which means getting 53 minutes per section instead of 35, getting double time, which would mean 70 minutes per section rather than 35, extra breaks between sections, permission to take the test across multiple days, taking it on paper instead of online, and yes, LSAC does approve these all the time, more than ever before. Now, as for who qualifies, the answer is way more people than you might think. This is where most students get it wrong. They assume you need a formal IEP from high school, or a lifetime diagnosis, or some severe visible condition. Not true. LSAC regularly grants accommodations for ADHD, anxiety, depression, processing speed deficits, dyslexia, chronic health conditions, and visual or motor impairments. And if you have any professional diagnosis that affects focus, timing, stamina, or processing, you may qualify. But here's what you need in order to apply. First, you need recent documentation from a licensed professional. That could be a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, or learning specialist, where they will explain your condition and how it affects standardized test performance. You also need to write your own statement of need where you explain in your own words how the standard LSAT setup makes things harder for you. You want to focus here on stamina, timing pressure, focus shifts, cognitive fatigue, etc. And of course, you need to use LSAC's official request form found in your LSAC account under accommodations. You upload the documentation directly through their portal. It can take a couple weeks for them to review it all, so apply early so you know what you're getting. Don't leave it to the last minute. Now, here's what the right accommodation can actually do for you. Time and a half alone can give you space to breathe, let you reread that passage without panic, give you enough time to finish logical reasoning instead of guessing on the last 5, and cut down anxiety simply by reducing pressure. Some students see 10, 15-point increases just from having enough time to think clearly, and that is life-changing. That's scholarship money. That could be the difference between just barely getting into a reach school and getting a full ride to that same school. And so once you get your extra time, train with that extra time. Get used to the new pacing. Use it to refine your review and build your mental stamina around it. You, of course, don't want test day to be your first time using that timing schedule. And if you get denied, you have the right to appeal. Appeals get approved all the time. On the appeal, you can submit more documentation, you can clarify anything they had questions about, and you can ask your evaluator to write a more detailed letter. Don't give up if they say no the first time. Push back, professionally, of course. This is about fairness, not asking for a favor. Now, most students ignore accommodations because they assume they won't qualify or they feel like it's cheating to ask for help. But this is not about an unfair advantage. It's about creating an environment where you can actually show what you're capable of. If your brain just needs more time to process, if your focus fluctuates under pressure, if anxiety or attention issues get in your way, accommodations are not a crutch, they are the bridge to your best performance. And if you qualify for them, you owe it to yourself to use them. This could be the easiest, most powerful LSAT upgrade you'll ever get, so don't leave it on the table. Now, the LSAT doesn't reward effort, it rewards the right kind of effort. Blind drilling gets you average, but strategic focused prep will get you a 170 plus score. You're capable of more, now go prove it.